How to fail your exam and deserve to. Step 1. You leave it too late to start. You know the exams are coming up soon, sometime in May possibly, although you don't know the exact date. But there's no need to panic, you'll get to it later. There's plenty of time, and there's not actually that much to learn anyway, is there? You'll start next week. Step 2. You confuse preparing to revise with actual revision. You finally sit down to start studying for your exams and think about creating a colourful revision timetable. And after nearly an hour of designing it and feeling satisfied with your sparkly colour coordinated masterpiece, you think, I've earned a break. Relieving your conscience of the guilt of not revising, at least for a few hours. Step 3. You use the least effective study techniques. You sit down at your desk with your notes, you start reading, you highlight a bit here and there, the bits you think are important. You read it again, you really concentrate as you read, with the belief that if you concentrate enough, it will magically go into your head. Then you think about making a mind map. You remember someone saying something about that at school, and you've seen other students do it. There's some pretty ones on Instagram too. So, using your notes, you spend the next hour drawing out one of the topics with all the key bits in. You certainly have done some work, but you fail to realise how ineffective this is as a study technique. You have no idea whether you really know it or not. You think you know the material, but actually you have the illusion of knowing. But you do have a pretty mind map. Maybe they'll ask you to draw one in the exam. Step 4. Only study the topics you understand and like. Some topics you enjoy more than others. You understood them quite quickly in class when the teacher explained it, but that other part didn't really get that. Hopefully, they won't ask about them in the exam. Step 5. You don't know what you don't know. You finally come across some YouTube videos that show you how to study effectively, and you've been putting it into practice. But despite your hard work, you haven't tracked your revision. So you don't know which parts of the topic you know well and which you don't. And it's starting to stress you out because time is running out and the exams are soon and there's so much content left to cover. I guess we'll just find out what you know and what you don't know when you open the exam paper. Step 6. Don't practice exam questions. You'd never dream of attempting your driving test without doing as many practice tests as you could, but when it comes to your exams, you think that logic doesn't apply, and so you never look at an exam paper. In fact, you're so unfamiliar with the exam papers that partway through your real exam, you suddenly realise you are answering questions about topics that you have never studied before, not realising that this was an optional topic that you hadn't been taught by your teacher on purpose and did not need to answer in the exam. You've now wasted precious minutes in an exam answering the wrong section, and all because you'd never familiarised yourself with the exam paper. Step 7. Drink a large bottle of water just before your 2-hour exam. Step 8. Give no thought to timing in the exam. Just go with how you feel. You're in the groove with one question and the knowledge is flowing, so you spend a good 7 or 8 minutes writing a huge paragraph, even though it's only worth 2 marks. And there's a 20-minute essay question next that you now only have 12 minutes for. And when should you move on to the final section of the exam? Well, the exam started at... So that leaves me with Step 9. Don't read the exam questions carefully. Rather than take the time to read the carefully crafted question written by the examiner, you just see the words relating to the topic and your eyes light up because you know something about it and you just start writing. You skip completely over identifying all the crucial parts of the question, and when it comes to essay questions, you write the essay you've prepared for, not the essay question they've set in the exam. Surely the examiners will be so impressed with your knowledge that they won't mind much that it isn't exactly what they asked for. It'll do. Step 10. Leave multiple choice questions blank. Multiple choice questions can be a kind, generous question in the exam, where even if you don't know, you can have a guess, but you don't, and nobody really knows why you do this. Or perhaps you do fill in the multiple choice question, but you fill them in your own personal style, rather than following the specific diagram and instructions in the exam, making you further regret never having practiced any past exam papers before. Step 11. don't move on. You find yourself struggling to remember the answer to a particular question and spend far too long trying to remember instead of moving on to the next question. And maybe in attempting other questions in the exam, you may have triggered your memory for the answer to that earlier question. It's funny how our mind works like that, but you'll never know because you refused to move on. Step 12. Assume you finished early. You complete the final question of the exam and allow yourself a little smile as you see other students around you still scribbling away furiously. But when you leave the exam, one of your friends says to you, "What did you write for that last question about stats tests?" And you think, "What question? I didn't have that question on my exam paper." And then it hits you. You assumed you'd finished early and you never turned that last page over to see if there were any more questions. And the worst bit is you knew that one. Got anything else you would add to this list? Drop it in the comments below. For more videos on how to study effectively, check out the playlist on the screen. All the best with your exams. See you in the next one.